Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
How we doing, folks? We are back. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. Time for our special guest segment. We've got an icon in real estate here with us, actually live in studio, so it's awesome. Henry S. Miller III. How are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me here, and thanks to Inside Real Estate Radio, and thanks to KLIF and Richard and Perry. Just glad to be here.
Well, thanks for coming in, and I'm stoked to be talking to you. I mean, look, this is, if you know anything about real estate in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I mean, you've seen Henry S. Miller signs, for commercial, new projects coming all over since the beginning of time almost. The company started back in 1914, and here's one thing I wanted to mention. Since, I love sports so much, and a lot of people may not know this. Roger Staubach worked for you guys in the off season back during the 70s, part-time.
That's right. In fact, Roger had a cubicle right behind mine at the time, and he used to tease me about my long hair. My hair was probably about the length it is now, but back in those days, that was long hair. So yeah. He used to say that he would try to think of the most heavy rock and roll group he could think of, and he said, you remind me of Chicago or one of those bands.
Right.
That was about as heavy metal as he could think of. But Roger's a great guy. In fact, Roger likes to tell a story about one of the reasons he decided to stay with Henry S. Miller Company during his pro football career was he and his wife were talking, and he got into the actually insurance business with us. We had an insurance agency at the time, and then transferred to the real estate business, saw more future in that for him. And so they went down to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and Roger played so well and was victorious. And as he was walking out of his hotel lobby, he was telling his wife, Marianne, that, well, now what? What do you think I should do? And about that time, a man came up and said, Mr. Staubach, here's a telegram for you. And it was one from my father. It said, congratulations, Roger. You've now been promoted to vice president. And so he laughed and looked at Marianne. He said, well, I guess I'm staying with Henry S. Miller Company.
Right. Unbelievable. Well, it's where, he learned all that good stuff. And, he's still in the real estate game today, of course, with his company. And but little known fact that he was with you guys way back when he was playing and
for
working,
about 10 years, yeah.
Working in the off season.
That's right.
Of course, if you played under Landry, you might want to always have a backup plan, because you didn't know if he was going to cut you. You didn't know if he was going to cut you at all. Well, Henry Miller has been such a huge part of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, shaping it and developing it. Take us back, early, to the very founding and kind of move us forward in time a little bit, and kind of catch us up.
Well, my grandfather started in real estate in 1914. He was with two companies. The first one was a company called Davidson Davis Real Estate, and then people were going off to war during World War I, and he was disqualified for some medical reasons. And so at that time, the people that he's working for went off to World War I, and he went to another company called Flip and Prather. And Flip and Prather was the company that developed Highland Park Village. And kind of coincidentally, about 50 years later, we bought Highland Park Village. And so there's kind of a long tradition with our company and our family of real estate, and particularly with shopping centers.
And one of the projects that you guys worked on, developed was that is so successful is the West Village, over in Uptown, and is that really where kind of not just maybe here in DFW, but nationally, is that really kind of where we're going with that? I mean, it really truly is the definition of mixed use, where we're talking about businesses, maybe on the ground floor, and then residences up above, and then we have entertainment and restaurants and bars, and just like we have over in the West Village, which is where my broker's office is actually over there as well in Uptown. And is that really kind of the future you think that you're seeing? And I think it seems so appealing to the millennial for sure.
Well, it's hard to believe that we started West Village 20 years ago.
Yeah,
and at the time, there wasn't any significant mixed-use development here in Dallas. In fact, we looked around the country for various analogs, and we probably couldn't find more than 5 around the country that had been successful. And it's sometimes a little tricky to put the different uses together and how they work together and how they can help each other. But we felt strongly about it, and my partner in West Village at the time was, and still is, a man named Robert Bagwell, and Phoenix Property Company. So the three of us collaborated, got together, and developed West Village. One of the people that we went to early on was someone who was active in the multifamily business here in Dallas, and they told us, well, Uptown ends at Lemon Avenue, so you're out of the district. This isn't going to work. And when we bought the land, various people had called in and didn't understand what we were doing and wanted us to donate the land for a city park or something like that. But we persevered, and even when people said it wouldn't work. And now it's very successful, and that whole district is booming.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's unreal. So, and it's it's being emulated in many other areas as well. And I think it really sort of set the model, for what really works and what is really appealing to the millennials, because they do want, that, number of coffee shops. They do want the higher end shopping. They do want to have everything right there. And I think we're also seeing this on the other end of the spectrum, as more and more baby boomers, start to say, okay, we're tired, of we've got the empty nest, and sometimes they move into another house, but then there's that next level where they don't want the yard maintenance. And so I'm thinking we're going to see more and more developments like that, only maybe more geared towards the 55 and over, so you kind of almost have two sides of it. One side that's kind of that young, hip, and going to the bars a lot, and then maybe the other end of the spectrum as well. Do you think that?
Well, it's hard to be everything to everyone,
right?
And so
because those two demographics don't always want to be in the same area.
Not always, but there is some commonalities.
Sure.
And people want a rich experience where they have a chance to connect with their neighbors and the people they see on the street. They want to dine outdoors, have conversations, a place where they can relax and truly be themselves. And I think that's what we try to offer, and I think a lot of the mixed-use projects that are going up also are trying to offer that. Each one has its own niche. Mm-hmm. West Village was geared primarily for the people in the urban core of the city, but we noticed very early on that it attracts people from far north, south, east, and west. So we feel like that's been very, very successful.
Yeah, I would agree.
And the store sales every year keep going up. So
yeah. Well, and we're even starting to see the grocery stores, start to take part and become part of a building. You might have that grocery store and then residences on top, office combined. We're just seeing some really unique things where people kind of wanting everything right there.
Right. And, with the grocery stores participating, which they has only been a recent development, that really gets exciting because it really offers people an opportunity not to have to use their cars at all for their entertainment, for their everyday shopping needs. And that's pretty exciting. I know that if I ever retired, I would like to retire to a place like a West Village where I had everything at outside my door.
Yeah, I agree. And, over 7 million folks in the greater Metroplex. I mean, and we kind of need more of that because, the roads are just getting so unbelievably sticky.
Well, there's so many projects now underway in the Metroplex, so many $billion plus projects. It's almost mind-boggling.
It is.
I've never seen so much development in any period of the almost 50 years I've been in the business.
Yeah, we were talking before the show. I mean, we talked about, the industrial being built off of I-20, pretty much all along I-20 in the Metroplex. And then, of course, Frisco's booming like nonstop. Down here in downtown Dallas it is. We've got new things coming up in Mansfield, Fort Worth, all over. Yeah, really no matter where you go, something is going on. You took a break kind of away from the company, focused on other projects for a while. Talk about some of those projects you worked on. I think there was what project you worked on down in Baja?
Well, there was. It was called Loreto Bay. It was an 8,000-acre project that we were doing with the Fonatur, the Mexican government tourist development agency, and probably 35 years ago, they went down and developed 18-hole golf course, built some hotels, and there was nobody there. And so it was like a case of build it and they will come. And they did this as something similar when they developed down further on Baja and Cabo and other places. They did it with Cancun. They did it with a number of their developments, and this one was the largest environmentally sustainable development at the time in the world. We had dedicated 5,000 acres to never be developed, to be a nature preserve, teaching environment, organic farming, various things like that. We were able to get the local communities. We were able to get potable water and a source of potable water for them to drink. Even though water's all around them. And I wish you could have seen this one scene when we were redeveloping the golf course and we were taking the top level off. We had about 200 of our employees and associates walking through the entire golf course and collecting lizards and other kind of amphibians and various critters and relocating them so that we could scrape the top level without doing much damage to the ecosystem.
Well, and that's environmentally friendly for sure.
Yes. Unfortunately, 2007, 2008 occurred and everything slowed down. Most of the sales were coming from California. Yeah. And so the project kind of slowed down to a stop for a period of time. We'd already built about 1,000 homes and quite a bit of commercial space. And the property now, as I understand, is owned by Carlos Slim. So he can do what he wants with it.
And I understand it's starting to take back off with that as well. And that's one of the things, and you talk about the environmentally friendly part of it. It's one thing I've always kind of admired about what you guys do. I mean, you guys have done a lot of work in the past providing some free services, for the YMCA, the Scottish Rite, and what people don't understand is, you guys don't necessarily just broker deals. I mean, you guys are about, development, helping with the financing of the construction, et cetera. There's so many different levels that you guys handle within your company. It's not single facet by any stretch. There's so many layers to it, and I don't think people really understand that.
Well, the founder of our company, my grandfather, was declared by the Dallas Morning News. I think it was in a year before he died, 1967, as God's real estate man. And that was because of all the work he did for churches and charities and how much time Henry S. Miller Company spent on trying to enhance and improve the community. And we're also grateful that we're here in such a rich, warm community that fosters this kind of entrepreneurship and development that we always want to give something back. In our company, my grandfather established a tradition of service, integrity, and community service and work. So we are definitely continuing that and even growing that.
Yeah, and one of those examples, too, is you got the golf tournament coming up here in another week and a half, 2 weeks, and a lot of that benefits a couple different charities, but one of the programs that benefits is LIFT, which is Literacy Instruction for Texas, Well, so that's a great program.
My sister-in-law, who's chairlady of the company, Tonihka Miller, has been on the State Board of Education for so many years and has been a past chairman of the State Board of Education. So we have a real commitment to education.
Very good. Well, kind of wrapping things up, let's talk about, so you coming back to the company.
Right.
And, what's the outlook for the future for you and for the company? And
well, I never went too far away.
Right,
Put it that way. I was always kind of connected in some manner, but one of the things that I'm focused on is development of mixed-use communities and mixed-use development. I started that when I developed with my partners West Village, and we're going to continue that tradition. And we have a couple of projects in the works that we're just undertaking that we think are going to be exciting, and not necessarily in the downtown area, but in other districts as well, north and south.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities for a company that's, where you're at. There's just, kind of pick and choose, what you want to do. So many opportunities out there. Well, look, folks, we've been talking with Henry S. Miller III, legendary icon from HSM. Hey, thank you so much for coming into the show, especially live, and I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Hey, folks, we're going to take a short break. We'll see you on the other side.